Okay, good morning. Today, inshallah, we are going to continue talking about what we started last time regarding the second phase of interaction between the customer and the salesperson. Now, in today's class, we are going to talk about various things. Number one, we are going to talk about the process or the stage of questioning. Or if you are going to ask why we are going to talk about questioning, because the questioning is considered to be the tool of collecting data or information. Data and information from who? Our own customers. Therefore, we should prepare ourselves as a salesperson, and we should formulate a series of questions through which we can collect enough information and data about the needs and about the problems which our prospects are suffering from. So in questioning, we are trying to discover what? Customer perceived needs naturally. Involves asking questions and actively listening to the customer's responses. So under questioning, we are talking about sub-skills. Skill number one, to draft a good question in a very polite way. With skill number two, to listen attentively to the customers. So, note in asking questions in a way that does not irritate customers and helps them to better understand their own needs. Well, as we said more than once, sometimes some of the persons, some of our prospects, they might not be aware of their own exact needs or troubles or problems. Now, if we are going to talk about the format of questions, generally we are talking about two kinds of format. Number one, close-ended questions. Number two, open-ended questions. Now, the close-ended questions, it is reminding us with yes-no answers. So we are referring to the questions which are going to begin with auxiliaries. Auxiliaries like what? Like, for example, can, could, does, did, have, had, and so on. So all the questions which are going to begin with auxiliaries, their answer is going to be yes or no. This is one, or this is the first format of the questions. Are we talking about another one? Yes. We are talking about the open-ended question. In the open-ended questions, we are formatting or structuring a question using WH questions. All the WH questions, they required what? Open answer. Open answer. This is the meaning of open-ended. So the open-ended questions, we are referring to any question which is going to begin with WH. WH questions. So, in the open-ended questions cannot be answered by yes or no, but the answer of yes or no can be done for the closed-ended, and are used to identify a topic. So if we would like to identify something, this means our response is going to be elaborative and illustrative. What's the meaning of illustrative? From the verb illustrate, clarify. Elaborate.
Detailed.
Exactly, detailed. Okay? Now, this is the format by which we can use questions as a salespersons whenever we are going to collect information and data from our own prospects. Listen. Now, if we are going to talk about the following scenarios, beginning from permission and ending by checking, let's have an idea about what is the most appropriate format of questions. Generally, this is used also by us in our daily personal life. If you would like to get a permission from your instructor, from your teacher, from your father, or from your mother, all the time we are going to begin formatting our request or demand by yes/no question or close-ended answers. Like, may I ask you a question about? So, whenever we would like to have a permission to do something, our formatting of the question is going to be close-ended. We used this auxiliary, which is called may, because according to the English linguistics, the word may is expressing the most polite format whenever we would like to demand or ask for something. It is more polite than the use of can or have or will or whatever. So may is considered to be the most polite structure. If the salesperson would like to collect information about facts, if he or she would like to collect facts, this means this salesperson can use open-ended answers. So, if we are going to use open-ended answers, this means we are going to use the WH questions. If the salesperson would like to collect information about the feeling or the concerns or the emotions of the prospects, once again, we are going to use something called open-ended answers. So, we will repeat the same thing with WH question. The final thing here, we are talking about checking. What we are referring by checking, this means we would like to check if we are understand what is the message or the concern of our customer. If we would like to be sure that we are understanding them carefully and correctly, once again, we can use close-ended questions. So, with the checking, we are using closed-ended question. If you are going to read this introduction was summarized by is. Is that accurate? So the answer is going to be yes or no. Exactly. That's it. Any question, any comments about this? So once again, let's repeat. Here we are referring to the linguistic patterns which salespersons can use while they are trying to collect data or information from their own customers. These linguistic patterns, they are various. If you are going to refer to permission, this means we can use closed-ended question or yes-no question. If you are going to talk about fact finding, feeling finding, both of them they are using open-ended. Or finally, if we are referring to chicken situation, we might use once again closed-ended questions. So this is a summary for what we talked about so far. With the summary, by the summary or through this summary, we can conclude the following. In permission and in a chicken question, both of them they are using what? Closed-ended question. Closed-ended questions. When we are referring to fact finding and feeling finding, both of them they are using open-ended. Open-ended. Any question or comments about this? Any question? Any comments? Let's sum up. Somebody might wonder, why we have to diversify our linguistic patterns while we are collecting data information from our customers? The answer is simple. We have to be very cautious while we are trying to elicit data from the customers. We should not be seen as a nagging persons. We should not be seen as intruders. We should not be seen as a persons who are imposing ourselves on them. So be a light guest by diversifying polite linguistic patterns. Okay? Move on. Now let's go on and talk about another skill which is called advocating skills. Well, listen here. Imagine somebody would like to sell us a car. Then, during the interaction phase, what is going to happen? We are going to talk about interaction, which will connect two persons. Person number one is salesperson. The second one is the customer. Now listen. How the process of the interaction will develop? It will be developed by number one, the salesperson is going to make a nice presentation. About what? About the product which he or she would like to sell. The second procedure, he is going to talk about another thing which is called customer concerns questions, which means responses to the questions of the customer. If you are going to talk about step number one, step number two, this is meaning skills. This is the advocating skill. First, me as a salesperson, I must be articulate. I must be able to present something good and nice about the product or the service which I would like to sell. Number two, I should listen attentively to any questions that might be raised up by the customer. Later on, I must be able to answer them in a very nice and good way. If you are going to collect these two things, this means you are mastering and exercising advocating skills. Clear? Now, till now we are still suffering from something. Nothing from the sayings which we are going to listen to might be believed or might be taken for granted. In other words, we will still, after we are going to finalize these two steps, some of the concerns in the mind and in the heart of the customers might be sensitive. In other words, the trust might not be 100%. The trust might not be complete from what customer listened from us. But in this case, what we are going to do to improve and to demonstrate our credibility and our truth, we are going to depend on something called evidences. What's the meaning of evidences? Barahin. We will talk about it after a while. So let's sum up. After discovering the customer needs, advocating skills start to work, which refer to the ability and clearly and fully present a solution, present a product or service that a customer can see helps to address their needs. To do the advocating skills, two steps must be done by you as a salesperson. Number one, solution presentation, a presentation about the product or a service. Or number two, addressing customer concerns, which means questions. How? Regarding the solution being proposed. So let's go on now and talk about this interaction. In the solution presentation, we have to convince our own target group, our own customers. How we are going to convince them? We are going to convince them that all what we are talking about is true and actual. How? By providing them with this word, which is evidence. In other words, we have to demonstrate it. What's the meaning of demonstrate? Prove. What's the meaning of prove? Exactly. So it is a discussion of a series of a product or service features connected with benefits that the client has already indicated are important and followed by evidence that the benefit will in fact be delivered. So we are not just talking, but also we are providing actually. So if this is the case, we are going to return back to our presentation. This presentation is going to be divided into two parts. Part number one, we will talk about the features and the specification of the product or the service. Or part number two, we are going to talk about the benefits, which our customer will get. So the presentation now, it is subdivided into features of the concerned product or service. Well, the second subdivision is the actual benefits which our customer will get after he or she will buy this product or that service. The most widely used means of providing evidence to prove problem solving is to use demonstration, proof, which encourage participation and often allow the client to experience the product benefits firsthand. So let's repeat back or return back to the car example. So if you are going to buy a car, for example, we are going as a salesperson, we are going to tell our prospect that this car can walk about 10 miles with 1 liter or 2 liters of gas. This means we are going to provide him or her with evidence. How? We are going to tell him politely, please drive the car yourself. Well, let's look at the switch. Well, let's look at the mileage meter. If what we said, he saw it or she saw it, then is this evidence or a demonstration example? Of course. Do you think he is going to believe us? Of course. But if the thing which we talked about was not experimented or touched or lived by our prospect, do you think he is going to believe and trust in us? No. Of course not. So salespersons should connect what they are saying with evidences and demonstrated proofs. Otherwise, our representation will remain talking. Nothing which is talked can be believed directly or taken for granted. Any question, any comments about this? Move. Now let's talk about the types of the customer relationship. If we are talking about demonstration, if we are talking about evidences, these evidences and demonstrations, they are various. Why they are various? They are various because we are talking about different types of sales relationship. This is reminding us with what we covered last time. Transactional sales or sale or relationship, enterprise relationship or consultative relationship. So these three types, both of them, they have different practices. Different practices of what? Different practices of the salespersons who are working according to them. Well, this is very important. It's going to be in the final. Well, I'm going to explain it fully after a while. But this is very important. Go on. Any written sales proposal which we would like to offer for our prospects to buy something, this proposal should and must enjoy 5 dimensions of equality. The 5 dimensions of equality are: number 1, reliability; number 2, assurance; tangibles; empathy; and finally, responsiveness. Well, let's begin. Our written proposal must be reliable, means it must identify solution to achieve a prospect's needs or problems. When we are saying assurance, we must be able to build trust and confidence in your ability to deliver, implement, and produce benefits. So any benefits which we are going to promise or say or offer in our presentation, it should be documented on a written proposal. والعقد شريعة متعاقدين. Third, tangibles. In other words, this written proposal should enhance and support your message. Message of what? Exactly. Sales presentation. 4, empathy, which means we should show our prospect that we are sympathizing with him or her. How? Confirms your understanding of the prospect's business and needs. Well, this is an expression of sympathy, an expression of empathy. Well, finally, the written proposal should be responsive. When we are saying responsive, we are referring to deadlines. What's the meaning of deadlines? Exactly. Imagine, Hanin is one of our prospects. Well, today we are talking about November 7. Well, she said, I would like to have this extra product. Well, I hope you will deliver it by November 8. If she needs it by November 8, this means it must be delivered to her by November 8. Can we deliver it to November 9? If you are going to deliver it after November 8, this means you are not responsive. Yes. So responsiveness means develops proposals in a timely manner. Time matters. So these are the 5 equality dimensions which should be seen vividly and clearly by the prospects whenever they are going to skim or read our offered written proposal. Any question or comments about this? Clear? Let's conclude the class. Well, this is the thing which I have just talked about. Well, as we said, it's very important. Now, let's look at the practices under the transactional relationship, under the consultative and enterprise relationship. You are going to feel that these practices, they are different, completely different. The salesperson under the transactional relationship, how he is behaving and acting, he is saying, I'm going to focus on a closing sales transaction, which means priority number 1 is to finalize sales transaction. This is the priority. Later on, if the customer or the prospect is going to be satisfied or dissatisfied, I do not care. This is how, or this is where, this is according to the ideology of
transactional relationship.
Business transaction relationship. But the salesperson in the consultative and enterprise relationship, they are saying, our focus should be on the customer bottom line.
Yeah, customers.
So customer's bottom line means customer is the base of our work as sales agency. Therefore, his satisfaction or dissatisfaction is something crucial. And we should ensure his satisfaction all the times. Even if this is going to be on the account of not making a successful sales transaction. Even if this is going to be on the account of not making or conducting a successful sales transaction. Clear? A second difference of the practices, the salesperson, according to the transaction relationship, they are having limited call planning investment. If they are going to have a limited call planning investment, معناته their data, their information about their customers and the prospects are very limited. So if everything is limited, this means we cannot make a good needs assessment about our own customers. But on the other hand, the people who are working according to consultative and enterprise relationship, they are making a very good and wide navigation by which they can consider school planning as a top priority. Or if it is a top priority, this means the amount of data, the amount of the information is going to be huge. Or this is going to provide us with a good benefit of how to approach our prospect. What's the meaning approach?
Reach.
How to reach our prospect. So the reach of the prospect here under the sales transaction, they are adopting the approach which is called lone wolf. What's the meaning of lone wolf? If the wolf would like to hunt down one of the sheep, he is going to be opportunist. So if this sheep is going to be isolated from the team, the wolf will come and hurry and try to catch it and isolate it. The same opportunist style is exercised by the salesperson who are working under transactional sales. But here, the team or the people or the salespersons who are working under consultative enterprise relationship, they are looking at the prospect as one of the members of the team.
Yes.
We cannot sacrifice any member within our team. We cannot cheat over them. We cannot deceive them. Well, this is the meaning of team approach to the account according to the consultative or enterprise relationship. Also, the people who are working according to transactional sales, they are going to spend more their time talking about the product. So the presentation, which we have just talked about, more than 90% of the time of the presentation will focus on the product which we have on our shelves in our stores.
Yes.
But here, the people, most of their time, they will try to diagnose this thing, which is called problem-solving environment. So they might listen more than talk through formatting the questions, which we have just explained. Now, if we are going to talk about our product, it means salespeople or proposals and the presentation based on the pricing and the product features. So we are going to focus or we are going to mention more than once something relating to the price of the product or something related to its features or characteristics. But here, proposal and the presentation based on profit impact on strategic benefits. The strategic benefits which will be attained by our customer. We will get the profit as a salesperson, or this positive impact will be taken by our prospect. So we will get the profit as a sales agency, or this positive impact will be taken by our prospect under the umbrella which is called strategic benefits. So if this is the scenario, we are going to have here a short-term relationship, where we are going to have a long-term relationship. So these are the major differences between the practices of the salesperson under transactional relationship and practices under consultative and enterprise relationship. Oh, this is very, very important. It is going to be in the final. Any question, any comments about this? Any question, any comments? Okay. Now, I'm going to stop here. This class is short because of your exams. Next time, inshallah, we are going to meet on Monday. Any question, any comments about this? See you. Thank you very much.